So what I'm getting out of this is you've been in this industry for a decade now, at least a little bit longer than a decade. And
20 years.
Right. And your understanding of this industry is that the technological transformation that is happening, which we're basically at the beginning at, is companies, organizations, nonprofits, any important institution in the world that is going to have any influence in the world. And obviously companies have a lot of influence in the world because they support people's lives by giving them jobs, is going to have to keep their companies running. And in the new technological age that we're going into, in order to keep that company running, they're going to have to understand data at the most granular levels and at the most macro levels. And in order to understand data at those levels, there have to be presumably some predictive simulative technologies that are able to help you model the decisions you're going to have to make based upon data that you don't even understand how to make sense of.
I think it's so much even more than that. I think we can boil the ocean down to this. There will be those who execute on AI and intelligence and those who don't, and they'll be gone. And that's going to be the full stop here. You know, it's like how many companies have survived without going online? You know, that's what's going to be happening here very soon.
But before we keep going into Palantir, I want you to break this down for me from someone who understands this probably more than a lot of people in the world. What is AI?
Yeah, so let me give you my little diatribe that I like to deliver here. So when I think about this question of what is AI, machine learning, intelligence at scale, what I like to think about is when we go and look at your organization, right? This could be sales, service, CX, operations, research. This could be your HR department, your finance and accounting department. We have data that lives everywhere. It lives in silos. Silos can be Excel sheets. It could be data warehouses. It could be data lakes. It could be anywhere within the organization, right? What we need to do is find a way to operationalize all of that data at scale in a way that's meaningful and makes sense when we output it to the end user, okay? Right. So what I oftentimes like to imagine is I'm going to take this big smart blanket. I'm going to lay it over your entire business. This blanket has to have the ability as a layer to pull every piece of data up and into it, bring it all into one singular, easy to understand and standardized view, and then allow me to run automatic models off of that information. I'm going to get into this in a second here, why AI plays into this. So once I have all of my data connected, I have that connectivity, I have it living within this layer, this blanket layer of my business. Now I need to operationalize that data. So what I need is, I need to do a couple different things. I need to first have the ability to figure out how and where I'm going to be able to connect this data, make it look the same. So I need to have a data prep layer. This means that there could be some squares and some circles, some cars and some potatoes, and I need them all to come together and just be data points that look similar, right?
Right.
And I want to do a couple of different things in terms of operationalizing data at scale. I want to be able to embed this information everywhere where my teams need it in a contextual format. So think of it like this. You wouldn't put the GPS in your trunk. You want it next to the steering wheel, or even better on your phone where you can just listen to it, right? That's an embedded contextual experience, right? Where insights follow the user based on the questions they're asking. A sales team might say, what's my propensity to sell more to this customer? What's the best cross-sell or upsell opportunity? We also want to have an augmentative process as well. How do I take in even more data from third-party sources where they're not currently connected today? We're seeing this in really cool ways with Palantir, but I'll get into that later. We want to look at this from not only perspective of what kind of third-party data can we leverage at scale, but then how do we augment with more of a prescriptive output? How do I know what to do, why I'm doing it, and subsequently the impact it will have on my business?
Right.
Now, the AI piece of this, which is really cool and probably my favorite part, is I want to create intelligent automation around all these different points, right? And what I want to use is really like a predictive engine to do this. So back in 05, 06, 07, the idea of a prediction was, I got 10 red balloons in a row. I'm likely to get another red balloon. So let's make sure we keep stocking red balloons.
Right.
What I want to start to understand at scale around this predictive automatic modeling is how do we start to recognize patterns we're missing? It could be a primary, right? Like, hey, once in a while someone comes in for blue. Or it could be a secondary that we actually have a higher margin when we sell blue if we throw in a purple string on top, right? And then we've got tertiary levels of engagement amongst data where, hey, you may never have thought of this, but on Tuesdays when it's raining, we're more likely to sell this, so make sure we have those in stock, right? What we want to start doing is have the system automatically take processes or steps for us, right? So this is oftentimes what we think of as like in-process AI, where when we start to see things happen that speak to a trend or something is changing, how do we create an automatic action driven off of this? And this is the key piece. And as more data comes in on a regular and consistent basis, the model will self-learn like a flywheel, right? More and more data keeps coming in and keeps learning faster and faster, keeps changing the outputs. And those outputs derive how we look at scoring, how we look at what comes next in the process. Customers are trending towards churning long before their renewals due. We need to do something about that right now. Maybe we create, a case for our customer success team. Or we think, hey, this customer fits the profile of someone who spends twice as much, but is using these two other products. Let's push that notification out to a sales rep.
Right.
Sort of the fourth pillar of this is this idea of prioritization by leveraging AI within the process. Prioritization is the piece that, in my experience, is most important to the C-suite in general. So CEOs, CROs, COOs, et cetera. Prioritization is really understanding what we're working on, the impact it's going to have, and why we need to do it right now. Which leads do we follow up on today? Which have the highest likelihood of converting? Which products sell best and have the highest margin rates, et cetera? That's really the way we think about it. So I define an intelligent experience based on AI's ability to embed information everywhere, augment with third-party data and prescriptive analytics, automating, leveraging predictions that take advantage of changes in scoring, and prioritization as a way to create velocity and agility in and around your business.
That is one of the most comprehensive. That's one of the most comprehensive definitions I've ever heard of AI, explained in a way that's actually simple to understand. So Thank you for that. I think that makes a lot of sense. You mentioned a lot about how we need to have predictive analysis of data in order to make sense of it. Did the rise of AI happen and it become basically this buzzword in the past decade because companies were generating so much data? Or did you think inevitably, based upon how technology works, there was going to be something intelligent that was going to emerge as a result of just innovation?
So I've got a great, easy conceptual way to think about this. With the absolute explosion of data, and there's no better way to say this, it is no longer conceivable that we can take and simply just merge files together and then quickly look at a visualization and say, oh, look, here's what we need to do.
Right.
Because we have data coming not just in so much scale, but across so many different platforms and services, we need a way to basically have a system that can automatically represent, understand, and prepare that data in a way we can create analytics off of it, right? So any good AI-based company or system is going to have two layers, right? Data prep, connectivity, and then visualization and sort of, explanation. As we've seen it go from like these on-premise servers and data warehouses, right? Like think like you got to rent a big factory, you stand up a bunch of these servers, and they store all your information on hardware. Now that anyone and their mother can start a company in the next 2 days with $200, rent space for their data, and have that data live all over the world, it's created this need to be able to pull it together really quickly and really easily. So the way I like to think about it is this. You walk into a supermarket and there's aisles, and above each aisle is like, I don't know, bread, cheese, whatever. Then there's milk and soda, then cookies and chips. You know exactly which aisle you need to go to. You go halfway down, you know where your chips are that you like. Now, the problem today is that's not the way a lot of data is organized because it looks and feels so different. What we now have is like a junkyard approach to data. I just have 10,000 cars and all their different parts in a humongous pile. Right. I don't have hours to spend sorting through and looking for an exhaust for a 1983 Buick Regal, my first car, by the way. What I need to instantly say, I need the exhaust for a 1983 Buick, and it goes, here it is, here's the exact coordinates of it. Let's pin down, grab that right away for you. This is where the ability to have a system that can learn and understand and keep track of and work with that data, it really scales and helps you to deliver those like immediate insights. What's really particularly interesting here as well, on the same note that you're mentioning, much like Palantir and much like many companies in this space, the reason we see it start with military applications is because it's mission critical, and a lot of times it's life or death. So you get not only boatloads of data, but you're getting data at scale tied to important mission critical outcomes. So there's oftentimes a lot of money to work in that space. It's not hard to raise the capital, but those use cases, it's those kinds of use cases that are really the edge of AI, that like tip of the spear. It has to be lightning fast. It has to always be correct and has to have no fail. So whether this means mirroring or whatever the case might be, that's why companies like Palantir, as they move from military to commercial, I know we'll get into this, that's where I get excited, because like that learning, that ability for that AI to recognize patterns well ahead of time with years of experience in doing it, that's where the real value comes in. But it's even more than that too, right? When we think about data, it's I get excited, and I'm lucky to work in this field because it's not just sales and service data. It's not customer revenue data, right? It's everything. It's IoT or Internet of Things data, right? It's weather data. It's geospatial data. It's everything. And the problem is when you're trying to combine how much money a customer spends in 12 months with the weather on a particular day based on the current temperature of their washing machine, there's no way to do that without some sort of intelligent data prep that then puts it together in a usable format and deploys it to the user to give you a heads up that, hey, that washing machine is really running really hot. It's going to be 90 degrees tomorrow. We better get a service rep out there and fix that thing for them before it fails. Those are the kind of end use cases I want to see.